Okay. Okay. I don't know how to report on this because this is interesting. The Detroit Lions have been linked. Bleacher Report did an article. I don't love it, but we are going to talk about it. Like, that's what we do here. And if you like the channel, subscribe, comment. I want you to comment on what you think about this trade and the possibility of it, what it might cost us, all those kinds of things. Please feel free to do it because I have two very differing opinions that I think I could go either way on with this. So the Detroit Lions have been linked to none other than Chris Jones of, of the Kansas City Chiefs for a trade. And they're saying teams should look to get this guy, Chris Jones, amongst the contract dispute that he's having. All right. Here's what the reason they say. They say the Detroit Lions are legitimate contenders. And it's certainly a stronger roster, blah, 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 whatever. So with more cap space than all but 8 teams, why not make a dynamic defensive duo out of Jones and number 2 overall pick, Aiden Hutchinson? Then they go on. Of course, everybody's going to talk badly about Kaminsky, who's awesome. Here's what I think they're missing. So I'm going to go a couple places, then we can talk about what it might cost us. And I mean, when I say cost us, I'm going to talk about what it might cost us, what we'd have to give up to get Chris Jones, but also how much money it's going to cost us in a restructured salary for a guy who's, I believe, 29 years old. He's 29 years old. Exactly. All right. So here's the first thing that I want to talk about. I want to talk about the 2 different ways we could look at this. Number 1, Chris Jones is the best. And if he's not the best, he is the second best defensive tackle in the league. Just to give you an idea of how good of a player he is, via PFF, I'm going to give you the grade, and then I'm going to give you some stats too. All right. He had 25 solo tackles. He had 15 sacks, 15, 2 forced fumbles, an overall player grade of 92. All right. A pass rush grade of 92.2. He is unstoppable. He is the reason that defense was good enough to win a Super Bowl. He is that good. For reference, the Detroit Lions did not have a player on their defensive line or on their defense that was higher than an 80.7, and that was Aiden Hutchinson. Now, defensive tackle, I think, is easier to get a higher PFF grade, but I do want to give you kind of this idea of what type of a player Jones is and what we would be looking at. But if we look back to this article, what they're saying is that Jones would change that immediately. Yes, we understand that. He would change the pass rush. He would change the dynamic, which might even be worth a first-round pick for a team that would have the talent to ensure that selection comes near the bottom of round 1. They're also saying that we would have the talent to ensure that pick comes near the bottom of round 1 because with Chris Jones added, all of a sudden you have an elite playmaker on the defensive side. If Hutchinson becomes an elite playmaker, oh my goodness, best defensive line in football and best offensive line in football is on the table for the Detroit Lions. So here's the next part of this equation. What will it cost us? All right, there is a website called Spotrac. I love this website. And what it does is for players that are up for contracts or whatever, they see it, they talk about a market analysis. All right. How good is the player? Where should he rank? Where does he rank at his position? What are other players who are getting equal stuff doing? All right. So his current value is $20 million. He's on a $20 million contract for this year. As far as his rank goes, market value, they rank him as the 15th highest player and the number 1 defensive tackle. Aaron Donald right now is in a 3-year contract worth $95 million or an average salary of over $31 million. And he signed that when he was 31 years old. All right. Jones will be 30 years old when he has the new contract come up. So they're saying because he's a year younger and his production is that, it really is that of Aaron Donald, they're saying he should get a similar contract to that. All right. So, and now that we're talking about this, it got wonky. There you go. All right. So they're saying 4 years, 28, almost $129 million. And yes, I understand. It sounds like Austin Powers. $1 million. I get that. All right. This is insanity. That's what they're saying. Now, could you maybe get away with a 3-year? Probably not. If you were going to make the trade for him, it would be with knowing that you are going to sign him to a $30 million a year deal. So the question we have to ask ourselves, is it worth $30 million over the next 4 years? Do we want to be paying him $30 million when he's 34? And yes, you are going to give him a large amount of that guarantee. If you're giving him $130 million, you're going to guarantee at least half of that. And so if it were me, I'd be guaranteeing everything on the front end, but those are, players want some security on the back end as well. Because if you're signing $130 million contract and let's say 70 million of it's guaranteed, but that 70 million all comes in the first 2 to 3 years, that's a 2 or 3 year contract. And everybody knows that. He doesn't want a 2 or 3 year contract. He wants a 4-year contract. So the guarantees in that have to be valued out. So I can go one of two ways on this. Way number one I can go is it's way too expensive. Don't do it. You're hearing all these good news about Aleem McNeil coming out of camp that he wants to become one of the best defensive tackles in the league, and the way he's changed his body and all that kind of stuff. Great. By the way, if he does become one of the best defensive tackles in the league, you're going to have to pay him too. Not $30 million, but you're going to have to pay him too. You see the skills that we have at defensive tackle. Here's the other way I can look at it. This is arguably the best defensive player in the NFL right now. He is arguably the most disruptive. We know quarterbacks, especially pocket quarterbacks, hate pass rush from up the middle. And if you can add a pass rush up the middle and from the edge with Hutchinson, we have just a gluttony of good edge rushers. We do with the Lions. So if you can add a solid pass rush up the middle with that, look out. It becomes scary. And you start to wonder, is it worth the money? Is it worth the money? So here's kind of where I go to. The Lions never swing big like this. This isn't what they do. And Brad Holmes has shown that he wants to build through the draft. But if he is on the table and he is worth it, do you think about it? And that's the question I have for you. And that's what I want to hear in the comment section. Do I think it'll happen? No. Do I think you'll get a deal done with the Chiefs? Of course. Did Dan Campbell say that this is the last thing on his mind? Of course he did. Like all of these things, but we still got to talk about it, don't we? Like, I think we still got to talk about it for a second, because anytime they're listed in this, you have to have that conversation. I did a video just a couple days ago about not Hutchinson. I always do that. Oh, it makes me so mad that I do that. But about Hawkinson and how they gave him a bag and he's going to get over 17 million a year if he performs well. Otherwise, it's just under 17. And somebody made a comment about the raising salary cap. And I understand that. And but that's why contracts are usually backloaded, and that's why you do void years and all that kind of stuff. But if we've been smart enough with our money, this is a huge contract, but is it worth it? Also, you have to realize that pretty soon guys are going to start needing to get paid. All right. Penei Sewell needs to get paid. Jonah Jackson needs to get paid. Amon-Ra St. Brown needs to get paid. Hutchinson will need to get paid. All of these guys, Goff will need to continue to be paid, plus some. All of these guys need to be paid, all while Chris Jones is going to be on this contract. Just think about that. You're not going to be able to pay them all. It's just not possible. So let me know what you think. Should we go for it? Should we not? Is he worth a first-round pick? You let me know, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.